Okay, so today what I've created is a preset that's trying to mimic the tone of Mike Stern. If you're not familiar with him, he's a really great jazz guitarist. Spent some years playing with Miles Davis, has a lot of solo records. My favorite record of his is Odds or Evens, that has a song on it called Common Ground, which is this great kind of real melodic ballad. And so those are kind of the tones that I'm going for in terms of the clean tone and the lead tone that's on that album and that song. And so what I've done is I've created a preset that kind of mimics his rig, and let's kind of go through the structure. First I'll say from a guitar standpoint, he plays a Telecaster style guitar with a humbucker in the neck and then a Seymour Duncan hot rails in the bridge, so kind of a blade humbucker. I don't have a guitar like that, so for right now I'm using kind of more of a Les Paul style guitar because it's the only guitar I have that has a humbucker in the neck. So let's go through the general structure of the preset, and then we'll get into some of the details. So I'm running 2 Fender Twins in stereo. I'm running the vibrato channel. I've got the volume set a little below half, bass a little above 4, mids are pretty high, and then treble's pretty low. I will say in the rig rundown I saw of him, the volume on his Twin was up a little bit more. I find that the model amp starts to distort maybe sooner than the real thing, so I had to lower it a little bit. And also on his, I think he had the bass at 5, the mid at 4, the treble at 3. I find the bass gets too booming that when you set it all the way up at 5, and to me his sound has way more mids in it than that. So that was kind of interesting. I kind of had to set the EQ different than he did in real life. But you can see it's we've got two twins, and we're running. If you see here, we've got a splitter on, running in stereo, and then when we're mixing them back together, we've got the two sides panned, not fully, but pretty hard, right and left, to 40 out of 50. So that the top line's to the left and the bottom line's to the right. For cabinets, I kind of settled on using this 2x12 Mesa Recto V30 cabinet. I do have another patch here where I was using one of the Fender twin cabinets, and that works too. I just found that the Mesa cabinet was a little fuller, and I thought sounded more like his tone. So the basic structure here you can see is we got some pedals in front of dual stereo amps, and then at the end his tone is pretty dry. He actually doesn't use a reverb. I've got a very small hall reverb on the back with the mix really low, just to give it a feeling like you're in the room with the amp. But the key to his tone is really this pitch shifter. He uses a Yamaha rack mount pitch shifter and has for years. And he's not really shifting the pitch in a coarse grain. So like the coarse is like if you were to say the lower to fifth, it's not doing that. It's just got a fine grained pitch shift in here. I'm detuning 10 cent. And so it's just adding a very kind of subtle chorus effect. Without the there's no modulation like you would get in a chorus that kind of goes up and down, but it's kind of like adding, if you had two guitars playing the same thing, but one was slightly out of tune with the other, that's what it's doing. And so what I've got set up here is, sorry if I go back to that, the mix is 100%. So one of these amps has that little shift on it, the other one's entirely clean there. So it creates these two amps in the stereo effect that kind of adds this fullness to the sound. And then he uses a ping pong delay. Like I said, he doesn't really use a reverb on his rig. He really uses the delay almost more like a reverb. And so he's got a ping pong delay with like a very small delay time. And so that's what adds kind of a little bit of, it almost sounds like reverb, but it's really a delay. And then for the lead tone, he's got a Boss SD1 that he uses. So the overdrive is set pretty low. The tone is kind of cranking up the treble a little bit when he engages it, and then the level is kicking the amp a little bit. And the amps, like I said, they're set, if you dig in, there's some grit there. I find and I tried like dropping the amp levels to the point where they weren't distorting, but then it wasn't getting the full tone that he gets. And I think what he's doing is, I think his amps are really, if he dug in, they would have that kind of crunch to them, but then he picks just very light to get that, that clean tone. Or the other way he could be doing is rolling back the guitar volume, which I find tends to work better on an amp than it does on a modeler. So, but I think this setting, if you keep your pick attack very light, you'll get that kind of warm, clean tone that he has. Dig in, you're gonna get some grit. And then like I said, the lead tone is just engaging that SD1. And I've got this set up in two different ways. You can see I'm running in hybrid mode up here. So these top ones are the stomps, and then these are scenes down here. And so one of the things I did is I set up two scenes. One is the clean scene. The second scene, I'm doing two things. I'm engaging the overdrive pedal, and I'm dropping the fine pitch shift a little bit between this. You can see it goes from 10 to 5. just to give a little less of a coursing effect on the gritty tone, because I don't know, it was just a little too much for me. It's still there, but if you instead keep it at 10, it's just a little too much for me. So I like using the scenes for that and changing that fine pitch just a little bit when I engage the overdrive pedal. And then the other thing on here is there's a compressor here, and I'm not using this with this guitar. What I'm using the compressor for is the other guitars I have single coils in the neck, and in order to get kind of the full, kind of that full mic string tone, I found the compressor helped kind of fill that in. So here, if I switch guitars, and now I've got a tele guitar with a just a normal tele neck pickup, and you can hear the. It's not as big and full without the humbucker. So if I engage the compressor, it kind of fills that in. It's still not quite the same, but it's kind of the best way I found to kind of get that close sound to what he does. And then when you engage the overdrive, anyway, so that's this mic string preset. Like I said, I'm actually I've really been enjoying this preset, especially the kind of that clean tone. I find it very inspiring. I love his sound, and it's a great tone for kind of picking out nice, clean, melodic lines. So this will be available on my Cortex account. Feel free to download it and play around. Thanks.